Sea of Thieves Origins, The Price of Gold, written by Jeremy Whitley, illustrated by Roald Marselius.
Where is that letter paper? I must ready this in time to go with the tide.
Swoosh.
Hello? Who's there? If you want to rob me, you've picked the wrong... I swear it sounds like the rattling of... Never mind that. I've no time for this jumpiness. Now where's that paper and quill? Now, how to go about this and keep my head on my blessed shoulders? I need a good beginning or I'm sure to have a bad ending. To whom it may concern.
Swoosh. Gah.
There it is again. It sounds like bones rattling. Curse this, I'm starting fresh. To my honourable employer. Let me begin by telling the tale of how I came to be where I am today, for I have not always been the man I am now. Once I was not a member of the greatest band of traders on the Sea of Thieves. In those times I was a humble trader with my own post and a pleasant sign with my name above it. I was never rich, but I scraped by. I was known about town, but the thing I lived for more than anything was my Annalie, the loveliest girl I'd ever seen, and against all odds, she loved me too. We ran the post together, and for a short time, it was a blessing. Perfect, dreamlike bliss. Until one day the man from the Grand Maritime Union appeared with an offer to buy me out. It was a good offer, and looking back I should have taken it, but I was young and impulsive then. This was my town, and they wouldn't push me out without a fight. If anything, they emboldened me. I had been happy to get by, but if the Grand Maritime Union thought there was money to be made here, then perhaps I'd been too cautious. I took out loans to expand my business. Annalie deserved to have a husband who could treat her like the fine woman she was. Meanwhile, the Grand Maritime Union bought 3 buildings on the main strip, tore them down, and began the building of their own trading post. But I was not worried, because I had a plan and the people of the town knew me. And even when they opened their new post, we did more business than we had done before. I was confident that I had the game figured out. And then one day at closing, the man from the Grand Maritime Union returned. He offered me another scroll. This time I refused to read it, so he read it to me. It was not an offer on the shop, but a call for outloan. The Grand Maritime Union had bought our creditors and were demanding repayment of our loan immediately. They were cruel. They refused to buy the ship from us, but insisted on cash repayment. When I couldn't pay, our supply lines were frozen. Soon we had a mounting debt and an increasingly empty store with which to pay it back. But Annalie believed in me and wouldn't let me give up. When no one came into the store, we went to the docks and hand-sold our goods and tools to sailors and fishermen. We made enough money to get by until my Annalie fell ill. The money that was once enough to scrape by was now too little to cover her treatment. I had to leave her at her parents' home to earn money to continue her treatment. I sought to trade. I sought to work a boat. I sought to make money any way I could. But every ship that sailed from our port worked with the Grand Maritime Union and could not afford to employ a man they had blacklisted, so I sought employment for a less legal persuasion. The pirates regarded me with suspicion. I had no experience on a ship and would be little use to them. The captain said I would be of little use to him except to swab the deck and die. But they were about to embark on a quest from which he thought it likely none of them return, so he thought he might need someone to die after all. That was the first time I had heard of the Sea of Thieves. The captain said the treasure littered the ground of every island there. Within a short time I would send back enough gold to save my Annalie. Sailing is hard work, whether you be legal or not. And while I was never afraid to work hard, years of manning a counter had made me soft. Nowhere was that more true than my hands. They bled, they burned, they scabbed and calloused, but there was always more work to be done. But as fate would have it, of all the ships that were lost in the quest for the Sea of Thieves, my ship found the Devil's Shroud. And while not all of the crew made it, I did. And the captain was right. We found treasure there. At last I had money to send back to my Annalie. But along with the gold, a pirate's life on the Sea of Thieves meant other crews trying to kill you. It meant deadly wildlife. It meant being stabbed, poisoned, bitten, and even haunted. I longed for the merchant's life once again. And that was the first time I met a gold hoarder. Before I fully grasped who he was, I was enthralled. This man held a key that opened a chest we had pulled from inside the ground, and as I understood it, 1,000 more just like it. No merchant union could touch him. He would always be able to provide. My crewmates saw only a madman with gold oozing through his veins. But I knew what true power looked like. I knew this was a man with a connection to real power, a man that would never have to worry about scraping by. I watched the man hand my captain a small sack of gold and walk away with the entire treasure chest. And the captain was grateful for it. I knew what I must do. I left the crew that very hour, and with only my share of the purse, left to visit the old gold hoarder. He greeted me with a now familiar suspicion, not wishing to trust a stranger, but I was persistent. The man agreed to take me on as an apprentice in return for the time being he would pay me in meals and a cot. I worried about my Annalee not receiving a portion of my pay, but I knew there was so much more to be gained as a gold hoarder. The man's name was Hogarth, and like myself, he had once had his own trading company in the wider world. Unlike mine, his had been prosperous, but he sought a new adventure and set out to find this magical place. Hogarth pinched every last coin. The shop was always cold, and my cot was little more than a haystack. But I kept my head down. I used 2 blankets, slept with my socks on, and sought to learn his secrets. But Hogarth was a man of few words and many secrets. I only saw the key when he was opening a chest. There is an expression that someone who is cautious keeps things close to his chest, and for Hogarth, that was literally where he kept his key. If I ever asked where he got this magical key or how it worked, he would fly into a rage. He would claim I was a spy or a thief and that I was trying to get him killed. But I vowed to him that I was no such thing. I wished to get a key tattoo on my arm like his own. I longed to serve a higher purpose, though I admit I didn't know what that purpose was. Finally, Hogarth took me seriously. He took me from the outpost and dragged me to a place I'd never been. And there, we came to a cave the likes of which I'd never seen. The look of it put dread in my heart, but I was committed to seeing this through. There I met the Brotherhood. Men who had come from all over the world to the Sea of Thieves and found a home and power with the gold hoarders. Looking around, I was confident many of Thieves had stories like my own, that they had once been disregarded and taken advantage of. Now they had true power. When the tattoo was finished, I was embraced by my new brotherhood. For a moment I believed I had already become a gold hoarder, but I would shortly be informed that I was not done yet. There was a special ceremony to undergo and a very special man to meet. My fellow initiates and I were rallied into a chamber where the whole brotherhood awaited. They said that the person we were about to meet was rarely seen even by gold hoarders, and that we were truly fortunate. I didn't know how true that was until... I met you, sir. If I'm honest, my first instinct was to run. I had heard about you, but I didn't believe the rumors. But after a moment of thought, I knew what I wanted. If a person like you was out there, I knew I wanted to be on your side. If I was to have real power on the Sea of Thieves, if I was to fare better here than I had in the wider world, I knew that your favor was the key. With your blessing, I went forth and set up my own trading post. Never once was I questioned. They saw the tattoo, and they knew whom I represented. The post was hardly established when the first pirates arrived. They sought riches and needed a map. I gladly obliged. I'll never forget the thrill that jolted through my body the first time I turned that key. While fools struggled to get past the lock, I opened it with a single click. Business was good, and while most of the gold was sent back to you, my percentage was more than I'd ever made on my own. I thought of my Annalee and how proud she would be of my success. And in my ignorance, I did something for which I must plead your forgiveness. For years now I have served you faithfully. I've never taken a coin more than was promised to me. Only recently, my mentor and your servant Hogarth came to visit my shop. Since I took up my post, he's been watching over me to provide guidance. He has never found an issue with my record keeping. Hogarth finished going over my payments to you and found everything in order. However, when he reviewed my own shares, he was surprised to find them smaller than he had believed. I explained to Hogarth that the explanation was simple, that just as before I had come into your service, I had continued sending a portion of my earnings to my Annalee. That was when my good friend Hogarth explained the great error I had made, that while you allowed me to keep a portion of your treasure, it was still your treasure, and that not one piece should ever leave the Sea of Thieves. He explained that what I had done was a crime in your eyes, and that I would be punished. He was terrified that he would be too. He insisted that there was only one thing to be done. It was on his advice that I decided to write you this letter. I know you are under no obligation to take any mercy on me, but I beg of you. I'm sorry, Annalie. I do not know the fate or current health of my wife. I honestly do not know if a single delivery I've sent to her has reached her out in the wider world. I pray that she is well, but were she to see me now, I don't believe that she would even recognize me. I do not know how far your power reaches, but I ask that you hold no grudge against her if your gold has reached her. I ask the same for Hogarth, who is innocent of any wrongdoing. It was on Hogarth's recommendation that I decided to do what I am doing now, for I have taken treasure from you, and I wish to replace that with a treasure of my own. As so much of what I have is by your grace, I struggled to find a treasure that was truly mine to give. I have but one thing that means anything to me that is not already yours. So, I offer you this thing. Know what it is more than it appears. Once it was a pledge of my loyalty to Annalie. Certainly it is a trinket of some value on its own, but it is also a pledge of my loyalty. Now it is a pledge of my loyalty to you. I hope that this shall make us even.
Finally, you know the Master's Island will only be accessible for a short time. We must depart soon. Is this it?
Yes, that's everything. I only hope it's enough. You, what are you doing here?
Now, Humphrey, is that any way to greet old friends?
You get out of my post. I'll not be seen with you lot.
Come on now, Humphrey. Surely you're not terrified of where your own boss will do to you if he even finds out you were seen with us.
Get out.
This was pointless. DeMarco just shoot him.
Hold on now, Rin. Let me talk to him. Now, Miss Arai here would just as soon murder you, but I think you have a part yet to play. Humphrey, I need to get a message to that boss of yours. Don't worry, I'll deliver it myself. I just need to know where and how, and think you might be able to tell me so. What'll it be, Humphrey? Help me reach you, boss, or should I let Miss Arai do what she does best?
What's this? Humphrey,